How's it hanging, fellers? We're gonna check out some more TikTokers. These are Appalachian mountains.
Recently, I found this really creepy PSA from a mountain ranger talking about the Appalachian Mountains, which, if you didn't know, are said to have skinwalkers. Check out the PSA and let me know what you think.
If you have any FM radio or AM radio or any kind of walkie-talkie, we urge you that if you hear static late at night, please respond with the words, Ranger, Ranger. If you do not hear a designated ranger with a badge number respond to you, please ignore, as it is a walker. We do not understand how exactly this is possible, but we can confirm it is indeed a walker.
Are skinwalkers real? There's a reason why you're not supposed to whistle at night in the Appalachian Mountains, or believe everything that you hear. I'm currently traveling the world to discover some unsolved mysteries. Let me know if you want me to travel to the Appalachian Mountains. Let's talk about the real CIA experiments that inspired Stranger Things. In the 1950s, the CIA launched a secret program called MK Ultra. The purpose of these experiments were to see if that they can control the human mind. Now there's a couple
I guess that was just clipped onto that first clip. The links will be in the description for all the original content creators. So if you're interested in her, you can click the link, find her channel. It's on TikTok. Anyways, what was that a real like public broadcast or whatever? It's interesting. I wonder. I don't know. That looked kind of older, but I don't know. What do you think?
The Great Appalachian Valley in this paint was built by the Mississippian Mound people to keep the Europeans' 13 British colonies from spreading west. Check this video out.
The side of this mound to show y'all how big this is. Now look at this causeway.
The 13 colonies sits east of the Appalachian Valley. And as you can see, that these are not mountains. Nature doesn't make straight lines. These were built by the Mississippian Mound people. And if you pay attention, all that land to the top, Baltimore, Washington, Philadelphia, Richmond, all that is the 13 colonies. When I zoom in, you can tell these were built by the Mississippian Mound people to keep the Europeans out. And it goes like that from Maine all the way to Georgia. Them ancient Geechee kingdoms, the Mississippian Mound people were messing them Europeans up. I'm telling you, man. Check this out, man.
I think it's funny how he says that Mississippian mound. It sounded cool. I remember I watched some video one time that there was some like Great Wall built to keep some beast out or something like that. And like I think I assumed it was the like the Great Wall of China, but then I seen something about there's a big wall in like India also. And then what if there was a wall on them mounds, What do you think? Tell me in the comments.
It was an isolated population. In 1976, in a remote region of West Virginia, state authorities began reviewing a cluster of disappearances linked to a single forest road that did not appear on updated maps. The missing were travelers, campers, drivers who reported taking a shortcut through the Appalachian backroads. At first, the cases were treated as routine wilderness disappearances. The terrain was harsh, the weather unpredictable. However, medical reports from 2 recovered survivors raised concern. Both displayed signs of prolonged captivity, severe malnutrition, and injuries consistent with blunt force restraint. More troubling were their statements. They described people living deep in the forest, physically deformed, with impaired speech and abnormal gait. State investigators followed the road and located several unregistered dwellings constructed from scavenged materials. Inside, they found evidence of long-term habitation, intermarriage. A forensic review later concluded the population suffered from advanced genetic degradation caused by generations of consanguinity and total isolation. Locals acknowledged the road existed but denied knowing who lived beyond it. No arrests were made. The road was sealed off in 1978 under a land safety order, and the population was never relocated.
So, like, The Hills Have Eyes or that, The Wrong Turn movies? Is this what what they're based off of? I don't know. I know in the comments of some of these clips, there are some people that said they've lived in the Appalachians for, like, their whole life and never seen or heard anything crazy, but, I mean, not everybody's going to, right? So, I don't know. I think they're interesting. I'd like to visit, really.
This encounter made the local news, it caught the attention of a ufologist by the name of Gray Barker. He became convinced that whatever people were seeing in the Tygart River area was not a deer at all, but something possibly extraterrestrial. And so Barker started interviewing witnesses from both 1964 and 1984, and he pointed out something that police had been trying to ignore. The whistling sound that multiple witnesses reported was not a sound any known animal could make. In fact, he suggested it might be some kind of communication device or even the sound of a spacecraft. Now, of course, police pushed back hard against this, right? I mean, the mayor of the town was quoted in the newspaper saying that all this talk of monsters and UFOs was just bad for business. The police chief suggested that people in 1964 had probably just seen, I don't know, somebody moving equipment on a handcart at night. You know, from a distance, I mean, it could look like what people had described. Others claimed that there was no such thing as a large albino deer, that this was all an escaped polar bear from a traveling circus, though no circus ever reported missing a bear, and nobody could ever explain how a polar bear would survive.
I would sure hope if there's a polar bear missing, they better find that.
For 20 years in West Virginia. I'm not saying you should believe everything you hear, but sometimes the mental gymnastics these people pull to try and rationalize things just doesn't really work. Unfortunately, nobody had answers. There was no physical evidence other than eyewitness testimony, and the descriptions were just too fantastical to realistically accept. I mean, where were the footprints, the photographs, fur, badly taken Polaroids, anything? Regardless of all of it, eyewitness testimony continued to spread, and they gained so much popularity at the time that it made its way into the national newspapers. And so at this point, you might be wondering, what on earth were all of these people seeing? What Robert Cockrell saw that night in June of 1964 and all the other eyewitnesses was not this large albino buck like I've led you all to believe. In fact, it was far more terrifying. What they saw was a figure that stood anywhere between 7 to 9 feet tall, extremely broad shoulders, potentially 5 feet wide, moving with a very awkward and lumbering gait. But before you scream, "It was Bigfoot!" that's not the case, because there were many other strange details that didn't really fit that Bigfoot mold. It didn't seem to have a head, or at least not one that could be seen. It was just these massive shoulders on top of this burly white body. And equally strange was the fact that it didn't appear to have fur, but this pale, seal-like skin. Or I guess the closest resemblance would be like the fur on a baby seal. And in fact, it was commonly described like this: a gigantic white rectangle with arms moving across the highway on 2 legs. Now, the entire time, it somehow continued to make that whistling noise, but Robert was never able to physically see how the noise was made because it didn't really have much of a face. It was evident that whatever this was, it was completely unnatural. Today, this beast is most famously known by something you've probably all heard. It is the Grafton Monster. As for the town of Grafton, it embraced all these old stories and now is one of the many towns across America boasting a cryptid economy. I mean, people still come to town to see where the sightings took place, and just like Point Pleasant and the Mothman, there is a lot of interest, but sightings are, of course, far and few in between. Robert Cockrell, who worked for the official newspaper in Grafton at the time, the Grafton Sentinel, never once changed his story about what he saw that night in June of 1964. And until his death, swore that he had encountered something truly unexplainable on Riverside Drive. Unfortunately, whatever the Grafton Monster is, or if it even truly exists, will remain a mystery. And because you guys made it this far into the episode, I want you to all comment down below albino.
Never heard of the Grafton monster. The pictures, what they made me think of is like one of those golems. You know what I'm talking about? The Jewish like thing they say is made from clay or something like that.
Yeah, we're going to address a quick rumor that actually isn't a rumor. So I try to be very careful about what information I share on here, especially when it's sensitive. But this seems like a necessary evil currently. So if you have been following the page, then you will already know and have seen the video where I did sit down and have dinner with 2 to 3 different SAR teams the other night. It was a surprise. I didn't know that was going to be happening, but it happened. So because of that, I got to mingle with a few people and, make some connections, etc. One of these SAR members did confirm what I'm about to tell you. So in a nutshell, SAR team went out, spent about almost 30 days searching a specific area. I'm not sure of the exact, acreage of the area they were searching. They spent 30 days doing this, tagging all of the remains and etc. So when they finally got finished tagging all the remains, basically the plan was, okay, we've done the hard part. Now we're going to come back tomorrow and start, documenting and collecting information and data on who these people are that we've tagged. They never got the chance to do that because the land was bought up almost overnight, like that, by a railroad company, who then came in with bulldozers, flattened the land, and burned all of the debris piles. So essentially none of those bodies were actually recovered or documented, and none of them will receive a proper burial. This is confirmed directly from SAR team members. If you don't know what SAR is, it is search and rescue. They are the people in the K9 units that are going in and finding the remains of the people who perished in Hurricane Helene. Now, at this point, if you're honestly going to sit there and tell me that you still don't believe that something absolutely nefarious and evil and demonic is happening in Appalachia, get the fuck off my page.
That's crazy, dude. And we might be able to change a bunch of stuff, but you got people that they're so confident about like us, conspiracy theorists being like crazy or just wrong or that thinking we're stupid, right? And it's they're just so confident in that look on their face, or like you see them in the comments, like it's just ridiculous. Like open your mind up a little bit, you know what I mean? If that's true, you get up and fight that thing. you know? I mean, better yet, you just cast it out in the name of Jesus Christ. That's like the only way to get rid of stuff like that, really. The best way, at least.
Haunted cities in the entire world. Now, there are many theories as to why Athens, Ohio is such a hotspot for paranormal activity, but one of the most popular ones with the locals has to do with 5 cemeteries. The names of the cemeteries are Zion, Sims, Hanning, Cuckler, and Higgins. And each one of them has a pretty interesting lore. Yes, it's true that you could technically make a pentagram with many different locations on a map, but when these 5 cemeteries locations are drawn together, it's eerie just about how perfect that pentagram comes out geometrically, leaving some to wonder if the location of these cemeteries were purposefully placed by practicing occult members. Now, even stranger, at the center, the vortex of this pentagram, you have one of the most haunted locations in Athens, Ohio. Wilson Hall, room 428. A room in Wilson Hall dormitory that has been shut down and closed off, no longer to be inhabited by students. The only room on campus that has been shut off and closed for students. Wilson Hall itself is actually rumored to have been built on a burial ground. Those laid to rest at the cemetery would have been people who had passed away at the Athens Lunatic Asylum, what we call the Ridges. Now, there are many stories surrounding room 428, and that's something we can go into in another video if you would like. But when it comes to the pentagram, room 428 sits right in the middle. So many people around here believe that there is a correlation between the placement of these cemeteries, the pentagram that it creates, and also room 428. There's also some spooky lore about the cemeteries themselves. Yet again, something I can cover in another video if you guys just let me know in your comment section. Athens undoubtedly is very haunted, and we're not just talking about the city, we're talking about the county itself. This city is packed with legend and lore. People want answers to things that make them uncomfortable. That's just human nature. In order to explain all the things that go bump in the night here, people have latched onto the idea of these cemeteries creating a pentagram. But in my opinion, how haunted Athens is has very little to do with the amount of people who have passed away here, and the who, what, where, when, and why that comes along with that, and more to do with the people who live here who are continuing to tell the lore and the stories. This is a college town. Every year in Athens, there's a new group of students, and every year you have local and upperclassmen ready to tell the new students all about the spooky lore of this area. This has been happening since Ohio University was formed in the late 1700s. Now, I don't know if you've ever played a game of telephone, but it's very rare that the original story makes its way to the 10th person to hear it. By the time it gets to the 10th person hearing it, there's been elaborations, there's been exaggerations, there's been embellishments, and flair added by each teller of the story. Eventually, the original story is lost to time, and what you are left with is just an absolute terrifying rendition of the truth. Through this constant retelling and embellishment, we're creating more fear. Fear is a very powerful frequency. When enough people believe in the same thing or the same outcome, it has been scientifically proven that it can actually change the probability of a situation through a molecule called the Higgs boson, the God molecule. Look it up, it's very interesting. But enough people have been feeding into this for so long, for centuries, that it has actually manifested the haunted nature of Athens itself. People are unknowingly casting a spell or creating an egregore. An egregore is a term used in Western esotericism to describe a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from the collective thoughts and emotions of a group or people. It's a manifestation of a group's shared beliefs and aspirations, often used in the occult or magic context. In my conclusion, rather than some pentagram being made by some unknown occultists, making it super haunted and paranormal, or the long list of tragedies that have happened in this area, it is ironically the pursuit of an answer to the question as to why it is haunted that is creating the perpetual loop of haunting that takes place here in Athens, Ohio. But honestly, I kind of like it. Human mind is a powerful thing. If you'd like more videos on the spooky and paranormal, let me know by hitting these buttons right here. Gosh, that just makes me feel so appreciated. I love y'all so much. Let me know what you think in the comment section of my video today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you stay wild.
Yeah, I'm not convinced of that. I don't know. I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but the face tattoos and the neck tattoos, I don't know, they kind of bug me. I think they look goofy, but I don't know. People want to get them, they want to get them. I don't know. But the whole pentagram thing, yeah, I definitely think they done that on purpose. I would say.
Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I'm crazy. Look at that.
The hell? What is that?
It starts with silence. Then you hear footsteps that aren't yours. Hikers who went in alone faced something they couldn't explain. Some never came back. This is why you should never hike alone. On July 7th, 2014, deep in the Uwharrie National Forest, hunter Michael Green set up his thermal camera. He had done it many times before, hoping to catch animals on film. But that night, he noticed something that should not have been there. In the middle of the night, the camera picked up movement. A large, glowing figure moved between the trees. Its heat stood out bright against the cold forest. But something was wrong. The creature didn't move like a man or an animal. It moved slowly, almost like it knew it was being watched.
Yeah, there's two things there, ain't there? Two or three? Oh no, I wish I would have played a little bit longer. It looked like it was coming this way, you know?
That when you go into the Appalachian Mountains, you are entering into another realm.
I hate how these clips have music in them. Drives me nuts.
And there is a set of unspoken rules that you must follow. Rule number one, if you hear something calling your name, right, you didn't. There is nothing there. And you should not respond. Do not say hello. Do not say, who is it? Just run away. Because something is trying to gain permission. And by you acknowledging it, you are allowing it to come after you. If you hear screams in the mountains, right, you didn't. And do not go towards the direction of the screams to try and help. Because once again, something is trying to lure you. If you see people, you don't. If you hear crying, you're not hearing it. Do not respond to this at all because you are giving permission to whatever is in those woods to come after you. Now, if you are to go camping in the Appalachian Mountains, right, you have to remember, at night, you must keep a fire going at all times. And it's not for warmth, it's not for cooking, it's to keep you safe. And if you are going to camp in a tent, make sure when you go into that tent, it is sealed up. There are no holes, there are no cracks. And if you hear any kind of screaming, yelling, or anyone calling your name, do not respond. Do not go to sleep. And if something wakes you up, stay alert, and once again, do not respond. Now, it's very important when you are walking through the Appalachian Mountains, if you come across a deer carcass, do not touch it, do not stare at it, walk away, ignore it, because this is something, once again, trying to lure you into the woods. Now, if it comes to the point that something is chasing you and it gets you, and there is no escape, fight as hard as you can, whether it's a person, an animal. If it's something else though, and you know what I'm talking about, well, you just let it get you, right? Because at that point, there's nothing you can do. And there's an old saying, you go into the Appalachian Mountains with 2 bullets, right? You fire the first one at something that isn't a person, that isn't an animal. And if it doesn't run away, you know what to do with the second one.
I'd just take more bullets. Um, what would you do in that situation if like you were out in the woods and you heard like crying or somebody yelling for help? I mean, I think you hear these stories to not react or not go towards it or anything, but I mean, you think about down in that situation, it'd be kind of hard. I'd be conflicted. I think because if somebody is really in trouble, like you're gonna want to help. Anyways, that is the last clip I got. I will have another upload tomorrow. And I appreciate watching. God bless you and your families. Bye.